And we are back. It's McCown and Shannon with you as per usual. We are joined today by Tripp Tracy's former goaltender and now color commentator with Carolina, and Justin Bourne, who is an assistant coach with the Toronto Marlies, familiar certainly to sports fans in Toronto for his work with Sportsnet over the years. Guys, thank you very much for taking time. An unusual topic today. It's not so much hockey, it's more personal. Both of these guys had alcohol problems, I assume, over the course of their career, and have had to deal with that problem. And we wanted to have them on to kind of discuss this. This is something that is perceived to be more problematic, perhaps, in professional sports than in society in general. You think that's true, Tripp?
Yeah, Bob, first of all, I'm really grateful. It's a privilege to be here with you. I think that the biggest thing that I think about is that alcoholism and addiction touches everybody in some form or fashion, whether it be them themselves, in my case, or somebody that they love, friends and family. So everybody can identify. And because of that, it's something that everybody can reach out and touch. And in my case, I battled it for many years. And the fact that I missed a game due to drinking last year in New York, it became a public incident, which I'm actually very grateful for at this point, because by staying on the same road, which I want more than anything for myself, I actually have really a difference in service to make a difference in people's lives, because it touches everybody.
Right. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah. Oh, Justin.
Justin, sorry.
The movies.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, all good. I've thought about that a lot, and I don't tend to think that in hockey or in sports in general, it's more common or more prevalent in terms of like genetics or anything that way. I think it's everywhere. I do think that sports and sports culture kind of, it sets us up to encourage it. And in hockey, there's a lot of this alpha machismo. And I know going through, college hockey and all that, the guy who could drink the most might get the most attention. And, you're prone to excess, and excess is celebrated at times. And so I think it can kickstart something that I don't think it's more common. It just sort of pushes people towards trying things again in excess that they may not have had if they were in a different walk of life.
Justin, as a frame of reference, and if this is a hard question, I apologize, but how long were you in denial?
What's interesting, John, is I hear from people all the time that acceptance is the first step, right? The first thing you have to do is admit you have a problem. I feel like I was maybe a little different, and Tripp, you can, weigh in on how it went for you. But for me, I knew I was an alcoholic and accepted it maybe 5 years before I got help. But I had this denial that it would be manageable. Like, you guys know lots of guys in the hockey world where you say, oh, that guy, that ex-player, he drinks a ton or whatever, but they have it together and they can maintain a family and whatever. I kind of believed I believed that people had what I had, but were able to manage it in some way. And so I was like, okay, I'm an alcoholic. I have no doubt about that. I require alcohol in my body, almost at all times, but I see other people that drink a ton too and have success. I wonder how I go about managing this. And so I set out to hide it and to build a life around where drinking was normal, and people would see me drunk, but it'd be at normal events. And eventually it got to the point where, in the program, and I assume Tripp has been this way too, life just became truly unmanageable. And it was just a matter of time till it got away from me. So yeah, for me, it wasn't like one day I was like, wow, maybe I have a problem. It was like, I have a problem. Now, how do I live with this problem? And that just it's not a practical life plan,
Matt,
I wonder if you guys think you would have had this alcohol problem if you weren't hockey players. How much of this was about the choices that you made growing up to be a hockey player? Was that influential, Justin?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was just the environment that I was in. I talked about that, like, heavy drinking culture. I remember being a kid, my dad played for the Islanders for years, and he had a celebrity tournament in Kelowna. every year. And so they'd come back to our house after, and you got 20 ex-hockey guys hitting golf balls off a cliff into the Okanagan Lake. And you can imagine the volume of empties around, like I was just around an environment at times where I saw that and thought, this is how cool people do it, And so I did think it was cool to drink. And I think that was an element when I went to college and started drinking and,
Sure.
felt more comfortable and felt cooler. So like, again, I don't blame hockey, and that wasn't my goal in like coming out with this stuff. It was not to be like, we need to fix hockey culture. It certainly had a role in it, but part of the book that I wrote is just grappling with what is hockey's role in where I am now in my life.
Tripp, what about you?
Yeah.
Boy, there's so many things that come to my mind. The first thing is that with regards to being an aspiring hockey player and having dreams of playing in the NHL, I was, from a young age in Michigan, I was an all or nothing person. And that helped me. That helped me be able to have a cup of coffee in the NHL as a player. I have a disease that it took me a long time to accept. I tried every form and fashion to monitor my drinking for really a couple of decades. I mean, I sit here and I think about being in Edmonton, getting ready to do a game on television for the Oilers. And that was the first time, it had to be around 2003, 2004, that I reached out to someone who happened to be with the team. Where I go from, the 12-step recovery program is an anonymous program, and I believe to the ends of the earth in protecting that anonymity. But I was very fortunate that somebody that has had 30 plus years of sobriety was with the team. He remains central in my life and always showed belief in me. That was the first time I remember it. I think the Hotel McDonald in Edmonton, that I reached out late one night and said, I think I've got a problem. That was the first step. I do believe that once you go from being a cucumber to a pickle, you can never, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you try, you can't go back to being a cucumber. I had 5.5 years sobriety at one point in time. I was very honest about it, but I had a girlfriend who I was dating. At one point we were having dinner in Miami, and she looked at me and she said, why can't you just have one glass of wine? I didn't drink then. But that made me think it would be different. I was older. I had learned hard lessons that I would be able to drink normally. I talked to my friends and family. The first drinks I had after 5.5 years were with my parents. When I look at it, 5.5 years removed from drinking, the first night I had alcoholic behavior. And by the grace of God and the miracle of circumstances and a much needed public incident that smashed me down in New York and gave me full acceptance that I'm an alcoholic, I was given that surrender in April of last year, that I have a disease. I think it goes back to my childhood and aspiring to be a hockey player, that I was all or nothing and put everything I had into chasing that dream. And that's in my DNA, and that's my cross to bear. And the good news is once you accept that, there is, if you're willing to do the work, an easy solution that has worked for countless people.